So, you know how we usually picture military power, big armies, flags waving, maybe uh, tanks rolling through a parade.
Right, that classic image.
But what if I told you that today, in this super connected world we live in, the most, well, potent empires don't always march with legions. They operate very differently.
It's really something how the whole definition of power, even invasion, has kind of morphed, hasn't it?
Totally.
We're talking about systems now that exert just immense influence, often without, you know, firing a single shot, at least not initially.
Exactly. And that brings us right to Dr. Puyan Gamari's concept, which is quite striking. He calls it the Lord of the Matrix. It's
Mhm.
from his work Between Destruction and Dignity, A Nation's Last Stand.
Yeah.
And he describes this matrix not like the movie, but as this huge system.
Right, built on what? Tech superiority.
Yeah, massive technological superiority, global surveillance, think satellites, data mining, all that.
Okay.
Financial leverage, too, like the power to just crash a currency or cut off loans.
Financial weapons, essentially.
Yeah. And maybe the biggest piece, narrative control. Shaping the global story, painting a target any way they want. Cloaking invasions, as he puts it, in the language of peace and democracy.
And what's key there, as Dr. Gamari lays it out, is this modern imperialism works through things like central banks, global media, psych ops. It's way beyond just armies now.
Right.
It isolates nations, squeezes them economically, tanks their currency, blocks market access, and just blasts this single
Definitely.
story, demonizing anyone outside the circle.
And this is where it gets really, really high stakes. The Matrix, Dr. Gamari argues, it basically gives nations this brutal choice. Just two options.
Okay, what are they?
Option one, unconditional surrender. Just give in to these global structures.
Which means?
Well, it usually means puppet governments losing total control of your economy, even your culture getting wiped away. Basically, the nation's soul gone.
Wow, okay, that's grim. Option two.
Destruction. And he's very clear this isn't abstract. He means bombing. Internal chaos, civil war, infrastructure just collapsing.
So it's a terrifying choice he's describing, a real no-win situation.
Absolutely. It forces you to ask, what does sovereignty even mean in that scenario?
Yeah, how do you survive when your only options seem to be, well, choosing the least bad way to fall apart?
And that right there, that's our mission for this deep dive. We're going to try and pull back the curtain on this matrix-style warfare, as he calls it.
Okay.
And crucially, really dig into Dr. Gamari's proposed third way.
A third way, beyond just surrender or destruction.
Exactly. A strategic path he outlines for nations to, keep their dignity, stay independent, without triggering that collapse, moving beyond that awful binary.
Okay, I'm intrigued. Because this matrix idea, it sounds almost futuristic, but you're saying it has historical roots.
Oh, yeah. This isn't sci-fi. Dr. Gamari is careful to show this playbook. The tools are new, maybe, but the game itself, it's been running for decades. He points to some chilling examples.
Right, you can see the pattern in the cases he brings up, like Iraq, for instance.
Yeah.
Accused of having weapons that, never turned up.
Never found, right.
And their refusal to just completely bow down led to invasion, regime change, and this fragmentation that's, still ongoing.
And then there's Libya, which is maybe even more stark.
How so?
Well, they had actually disarmed. They were playing the diplomatic game, integrating, and yet...
And yet, Gamari points out, they were bombed into becoming basically a failed state.
Right. Or Afghanistan occupied for 20 years. Did they get peace? Stable infrastructure? No.
And Syria, too. Another tough example. Years of proxy wars, outsiders funding insurgents, the country's still carved up. The pattern he identifies is pretty clear, isn't it? Once a country gets labeled a threat to order, this whole matrix machine just, kicks in.
Diplomacy gets pushed aside.
Yeah, military thinking takes over. And the tragic part, the real cost, the human cost, it's always borne by ordinary people, not the elites making the decisions.
It's sobering, the tech changes, but that power dynamic... It feels very familiar, which makes you wonder, is there a nation facing this right now, living this playbook?
Well, Dr. Gamari's work strongly suggests there is. He points to one nation in particular,
Okay.
historically significant, known for being, let's say, politically defiant, influential in its region. And it finds itself right in the crosshairs of this matrix strategy today.
And what's its situation?
It's under heavy economic sanctions. The population is tired, definitely feeling the strain, but also described as incredibly resilient. Meanwhile, global media often paints it as aggressive, a destabilizing force.
The narrative control part.
Exactly. And its refusal to just, submit. It earns respect from some, sure, but mostly leads to deeper isolation.
So the leadership there is facing that same awful choice.
Precisely the dilemma detailed in the source. The Matrix is demanding surrender. But surrendering means, well, outsiders controlling domestic policy, giving up regional influence, maybe cultural identity getting washed away, a puppet regime.
That sounds like losing everything that makes the nation itself.
It does. But then the other side, just resisting, without a new game plan, that risks total destruction. Gamari warns the next step might be airstrikes, no more warnings.
So the question hanging over them, the one Gamari tackles, is how do you possibly protect your dignity, your independence, avoid a war, but also avoid complete collapse? Is there any way out?
And this is where Gamari's analysis gets really interesting. He argues that binary choice, surrender or die, it's actually an illusion.
An illusion? How?
A trap, cleverly built. He says there's a third way. But it takes, well, humility, smarts, and frankly, immense moral courage from the leaders.
A third way to defy the trap. Okay, what's the goal then? What does this path aim to achieve?
The objectives are really clear and pretty bold. First, preserve your territory, your sovereignty.
All right.
Second, actively stop a military invasion or the collapse of the government.
Right.
Third, absolutely avoid becoming a puppet state or having your culture overrun.
Makes sense.
Then, rebuild trust inside the country while repositioning smartly on the world stage. And finally, maintain national dignity while ensuring survival. It's not passive, it's presented as very strategic resistance, not giving in.
Strategic resistance, not surrender. Okay, I like the sound of that. So how does it work? He breaks it down, right? A framework.
Yeah, a comprehensive 7-step framework. Each step is designed to kind of systematically take apart the Matrix's usual excuses for intervening.
Right, let's walk through them. Step 1.
Step 1, voluntary power transition to a national unity council.
Voluntary. So the current leaders initiate it.
Exactly, that's the genius of it, according to Gamari. By doing it voluntarily, the nation keeps control of its own story.
Ah.
The leadership puts together this council themselves. It includes reformers, clerics focused on reconciliation, trusted military figures who want stability, good economists, technocrats, and importantly, young people, women, student leaders.
So it keeps the future in their own hands.
Right. And it completely removes the pretext. The Matrix loves this idea that outsiders need to step in and fix things. It's like a preemptive move against manufactured intervention.
Okay, clever. Taking control of the narrative internally. What's step 2?
Step 2, open the doors to neutral global witnesses.
Witnesses, not managers.
Precisely. Invite countries known for neutrality, like Switzerland, maybe South Africa, Norway, UN observers. Their job is just to watch the transition.
Why is that important?
It signals transparency to the whole world. It stops anyone, internal or external, from claiming the process is rigged or hijacked. It lends legitimacy. They just observe.
Like bringing in impartial referees. Got it. Step 3.
Manned a 72-hour emergency ceasefire from the United Nations.
A UN resolution.
Yes, file immediately. Requesting a ceasefire or at least a guarantee of non-engagement, protection for civilians, infrastructure, and UN observers to monitor any foreign military moves.
What does that achieve, even if the Matrix ignores it?
It puts the Matrix under a legal and moral spotlight. It creates delays, buys time, and it pulls other non-aligned countries into the discussion, building international pressure against an invasion.
So you're using international law and diplomacy as a shield. Okay. Step 4.
Mobilize domestic resources toward humanitarian stabilization.
Meaning?
You take money away from the military budget, the non-essential defense stuff, and you pour it into critical supplies.
Yeah.
Water, food, power, medicine.
Show you're focused inward on your people.
Exactly. It makes the Matrix's favorite claim, we need to intervene for humanitarian reasons, look pretty weak because the nation is visibly taking care of its own people.
Right, undercutting their justification. Powerful.
Okay, step 5.
Release nonviolent political prisoners and reopen social dialogue.
An internal healing
The
move.
huge gesture. Release selected activists, academics, journalists. Open up real conversations in universities, mosques, community centers. Rebuild that internal trust.
Gamari sees this as strategic, not weakness. Absolutely. It's strategic restoration. It lets the nation breathe, heal from within, maybe unite it a bit more before facing external pressure. Prevents suffocating under foreign demands later.
Makes sense. Unite the home front. Step 6.
Publicly declare a sovereignty and peace charter.
A formal declaration.
Yes, a public pledge to the world, it says. We're not aligned, no military blocks. We promise no nukes, no aggression against others. We guarantee no foreign power gets military or economic control here. And we call for peace talks with neighbors.
So you basically seize the moral high ground.
Completely. It makes the military invasion look politically toxic, diplomatically indefensible to the rest of the world.
Okay. And the final step, step 7.
Schedule transparent elections within 90, 120 days.
A clear timeline for democracy.
A clear, realistic timeline, not rushed, not fake. Broad rules for who can run.
Yeah.
Invite international observers. The point is, the people will decide the future.
Not outsiders.
Not empires, not internal factions trying to grab power. It's the ultimate statement of self-determination.
Wow. That is a remarkably comprehensive, proactive strategy. It really tries to anticipate and counter the Matrix playbook at every turn.
It does. It's designed to dismantle the justifications piece by piece.
But what if? What if a nation facing this doesn't take this path? What does Gamari say happens if they hesitate or just keep resisting in the old way?
Yeah, he's very blunt about the consequences of inaction. The picture he paints is stark and, frankly, grimly predictable.
Such as?
Full-scale military intervention, long-term occupation, or the government just collapsing entirely. Then the power vacuum. Extremist groups inevitably rise up.
Fragmentation.
Yeah, the nation potentially breaking apart into warring regions. And a deep, maybe irreversible loss of national culture, political agency, everything.
He has that quote, doesn't he? Something about history.
He does. History does not forgive hesitation. And he adds, ego, fear, and indecision are the ingredients of national tragedy. It's a powerful warning.
A real call for courage, it sounds like.
It is. And what's really deep in his analysis is this idea that the Matrix wants reaction. It pokes, it provokes, it waits for that predictable, angry response.
And then it strikes.
And then it strikes, yeah. Always with some carefully crafted reason that sounds moral or necessary.
But Gamari's core message, then, for a nation in that trap is, don't react predictably.
Exactly. Choose intelligence, choose strategic foresight instead. That's how you break the game.
He says the greatest power is not in holding on.
It's in letting go before the bomb drops and choosing a future your people can live in.
Letting go not as surrender, but as transformation.
That's how it's framed.
Huh.
It's presented as the ultimate act of strategic resistance for our times, transforming your path before you're transformed by others.
Surviving without submitting. Leading without being ruled.
Yeah, it's a profound reframing of strength and resilience in a world where dominance often works in these hidden but incredibly powerful ways.
So this deep dive into Dr. Poonen Gamari's Lord of the Matrix, and especially this third way framework, it really gives you, the listener, a different lens, doesn't it? A complex strategic alternative to those awful choices nations can face.
It absolutely forces a rethink of what power even looks like now. And for you, thinking about global politics, it raises that big question. How does any nation find real agency, keep its soul, in a system that seems designed to box it in?
And in a world where control is maybe more about algorithms and financial flows than tanks, what's the most powerful form of national resistance today? Is it really about meeting force with force? Or is it something else? Maybe it's the wisdom to change, to adapt before the crisis fully hits. Something to definitely think about.